Many countries have been working toward reducing their dependence on the US since September 11th, particularly in areas like finance, trade, and military strategy. Here's how. 1. De-dollarization efforts. Countries like China, Russia, and Brazil have pushed to reduce reliance on the US dollar in global trade. BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are exploring alternatives to the dollar, such as trading in local currencies. The petrodollar system is being challenged, with Saudi Arabia and other oil-producing nations accepting payments in other currencies. 2. Strengthening regional alliances. The European Union has aimed for more independence through the euro and initiatives like the European Defense Fund to rely less on NATO, which is US-led. China has built the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, to create trade networks that don't rely on Western control. Russia and China have deepened military and economic ties, working around US sanctions. 3. Alternative financial systems. After the US imposed financial sanctions on Russia and other countries, nations began developing alternatives to SWIFT, the global banking system controlled by the West. China's CIPS, Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, is one such alternative. 4. Energy independence and shifts. Europe, historically dependent on US and Middle Eastern energy, has invested in renewables and non-US energy sources, especially after conflicts like the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia has shifted its energy exports toward Asia, reducing reliance on Western markets. 5. Military and political shifts. Countries are building stronger regional military partnerships instead of relying solely on US security guarantees. The rise of multipolar geopolitics means power is more distributed among the US, China, Russia, and emerging economies. The assumption that America can cut off other countries from goods and still maintain control is becoming outdated, as many nations have been actively working toward self-sufficiency and alternative trade partnerships since September 11th. Why trade wars hurt America more than before one. Countries have alternative trade partners. In the past, if the US imposed sanctions or tariffs, it could cripple an economy. Now, nations like China, Russia, and BRICS countries are strengthening trade networks without the US. Example, after the US sanctioned Russia, Russia just shifted trade to China, India, and the Middle East instead of collapsing. 2. De-dollarization. Weakens US leverage. The US historically used the dollar's dominance to control trade, but as countries trade in local currencies, this leverage is shrinking. Example, China and Saudi Arabia discussing selling oil in yuan instead of dollars reduces America's financial grip. 3-point US industry still relies on global supply chains. Many American industries depend on imports, especially from China, Taiwan, and Mexico. Cutting off trade would hurt US companies as much as foreign ones. Example, tariffs on China ended up increasing costs for American consumers and businesses. The fourth manufacturing base in the US is weaker. The US outsourced much of its manufacturing over decades. If it starts a trade war, it can't instantly replace lost imports. Example, America relies on China for rare earth minerals, which are crucial for electronics, EVs, and defense technology. 5. Other countries are forming their own economic blocs. The US used to be the only game in town, but now countries are trading more among themselves rather than relying on America. Example, the BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, is expanding and pushing for trade independence. Does the US still think it has power? Yes, but that mindset is outdated. The US still has leverage, but it's not as dominant as before. When the US cuts a country off from trade, it doesn't always create dependence. It often pushes them toward other economic alliances. A trade war today is riskier for America than it was in the past, because the world is less dependent on the US now more than ever before. Instead of isolating other countries, trade wars often speed up their efforts to break free from US control, which ultimately weakens American influence in the long run. Like, comment, and subscribe to 808 Culture TV today.